What's up, everyone? My name is Alex, and I use he, him, his pronouns or AMR's pronouns, and we are talking about misgendering, degendering, and dysphoria all in one. Some of those might not be familiar terms, maybe they are, but I thought I'd cover a few topics in one video and still somehow keep it short. I tend to ramble a lot. I guess that's the namesake of the channel. I also have a new sweater. I bought this just on a whim at Walmart, of all places. I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with clothes, and now it's gotten to the point where it's like I see clothes on a rack and I'm like, that's mine now, and I just buy it outright. Kind of spoiled myself going shopping yesterday, but it was nice. It feels a little weird to spoil myself. I end up feeling guilty afterwards, but I bought the new sweater and it's very cozy. It's a little thin, but it's very soft, and I like it. So yeah, that's what's going on in my life besides the usual stuff. I am shifting focus purely to YouTube. I'm in other places on social media, but I've kind of decided to, I guess, do my own thing on social media and not focus so much on cross promoting and getting my name everywhere on the internet. So my main focus is YouTube, and I mean, at this point I just kind of see it as a fun hobby. I like the close-knit community. I like not having a ton of subscribers to try to appeal to. Like, I'm just kind of, I guess, on the down low right now. I'm not sure how to explain that, but yeah, basically it's just YouTube and my usual work that I'm doing, and that's about it. To start out with, I wanted to talk about degendering as a concept and how it compares to the idea of misgendering. Not a lot of people know about degendering or like what it means. It's not something people typically talk about, but I recently brought it up as an idea, either on Twitter or Tumblr, and I thought it was a really good idea for a video topic, or at least like part of a video topic where I could like explain what it is. So degendering as a concept, it basically just means you are disregarding using gendered language and pronouns for a person in favor of gender-neutral terminology, even though the person in question has requested that you don't do this. So it's like, if you know the person's pronouns are he, him, or she, her, and you disregard that and start using they, them instead, that is a form of misgendering, but it is a form of degendering if you are attempting to not gender the person at all. Other examples, using person instead of man, using, just ungendered or non-gendered language for someone who very clearly has a gender and has specified that the person would like to use this kind of terminology to refer to themselves. And I guess where I'm coming from, I mean, this happens all the time with binary transgender people, using they, them for someone who comes out as a trans woman, who wants to use she, her pronouns, and deciding not to do that and using they, them instead. But from my personal experience, being a non-binary person, being a non-binary man specifically, I guess that's kind of like where I'm coming from, is as a non-binary man, I've gotten a lot of, like, I guess people assume that non-binary is genderless or some kind of third gender, some kind of, like, neutral gender, and in no way relates to the gender binary, and therefore, using non-gendered terminology, using neutral pronouns, the assumption that non-binary means not man or woman or a blend of both. Usually people will just make the assumption, they see non-binary and they're like, okay, well then I'm just not going to gender this person. But they kind of gloss over, like, this person's a non-binary man. He wants to use he, him pronouns, but some people may not decide to do that for whichever reason. Usually it's based on assumptions of identity, like, this is what I think non-binary is, so this is the terminology I'm going to use. And it kind of ties in with misgendering. It is adjacent to misgendering in a way. It's a subset of misgendering, and it can cause the same type of dysphoria for a person. At least for me, definitely. I've talked about being dysphoric when they, them pronouns are being used to refer to me, because I'm not, I'm really not, like, I don't like that at all. I don't like people not recognizing my malehood. Even if it's a partial relation to malehood, I still find it important in my identity. So even though I'm non-binary, I'm still a man in some capacity, and I request he, him pronouns, using male-related terminology like man or sir. Sir is a little strange, but there's no other, like, what do you call those, honorifics? There's no other honorifics like that. Mister as well. I don't like, for me, I don't like the honorific mix or mixter. It was never like my kind of thing, but I like that as a I like that as a term. I really like that there are gender neutral honorifics, gender neutral terminology for aunts, uncles, parents. I like that that's like a thing, but I personally prefer not to be referred to in that way. I mean, obviously that could change. Definitely, like, my thoughts about gender have definitely changed over the years, and even since making this channel 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, like, ever since, like, starting to upload videos to the channel, I've changed my mind on what I think about gender and what my gendered experience is, and, like, how I feel about myself and my identity. So obviously it's subject to change, but as of now, this is how I feel about being degendered, misgendered, kind of the same thing in that regard. So, specific instances of dysphoria. I did talk about dysphoria. I talked about what I'm dysphoric about, and I talked a lot about body stuff. I talked a lot about, like, my voice, but I want to talk about specific things that have been said to me, even from within the queer community, things that are very specific to my experience as a non-binary man, and how it has caused dysphoria. Like I said, being referred to with they, them pronouns. It's well-meaning. That's also the trouble, is that it's often well-meaning, and it often does come from within the queer community. And it's like I have to teach my fellow queers, like, don't do this. Don't degender somebody if they've specifically requested to be referred to a certain way. Just, like, listen to somebody's needs. Gender is messy. Gender is multifaceted. It is complex. It's nebulous for some people. Like, just listen to, like, what their experiences are and what they prefer. There's also another idea in some queer spaces that, you know, there are genders that are strictly masculine and strictly feminine. I've seen this a lot online, where, like, people will come up with new terminology, new gender labels that, you know, fits something that didn't have a label before. That's, I mean, the whole point of coining new gender terms is that, you know, there's an experience that doesn't have a name, so someone gives a name to it, but a lot of people will be like, this is a gender that is masculine, or this gender encompasses masculine genders. And I never understood why there was a strictness to that, because it kind of alienates people who don't align their gender with masculine or feminine. It alienates people who may, you know, feel like their gender, or at least the core of their gender, is feminine, and this term fits other than the masculine part of it. And it's like it's no other gendered definition. There's no other genderedness of that definition other than a masculinity, and it's very strange. It's meant to be a non-binary gender that someone coins. It's a non-binary gender experience, and someone throws in like it's a masculine gender. People whose genders are masculine in nature. That's another term that I had seen kind of floating around, and like I don't want to invalidate anybody who has a gender that is masculine in nature, something they feel masculinity is inherently tied to. That's someone's personal experience, but I don't like the idea of kind of enforcing that on somebody, which kind of brings me to my next point. Gender alignment. It's an idea in non-binary spaces with non-binary identities. Some people feel like they kind of connect to the gender binary in some way, but not enough to be like, I'm a non-binary man, or I'm mostly a guy, but in a non-binary scope. People will say that they're male aligned or man aligned, which is totally like valid, but there's also this assumption that specific identities can only be male aligned or female aligned. I've had people message me back in the day on Tumblr, because I guess I made a joke that like I didn't have any kind of gender alignment. I don't know how inappropriate this this joke is, but on my not general audiences Tumblr back when I was like really active on Tumblr, I had made a joke that like I'm not male aligned or female aligned, I am bastard aligned, and I guess somebody saw that as like, but this person sent me a message saying you're a demi guy, you're a non-binary man. How is it possible that you're not male aligned in any capacity? Like, don't you have to be male aligned to be a demi guy? And I'm like, no. Like, me personally, I don't use a gender alignment system. I've questioned gender alignment. I'm actually going to be doing a video on gender alignment soon because it's something I've thought about, but no, I've never subscribed to any kind of alignment system. I don't even say I'm unaligned. It's just not, it doesn't fit my particular gendered experience. Alignment kind of adds a new layer to somebody's identity. Like, maybe the person says they're genderless, but they have some kind of connection to femininity. So they'll say they are a femme-aligned agender person. They may, I guess, connect with the binary male gender, so they'll say that they're a male-aligned agender person, and it kind of adds an extra little layer to the identity without changing the core identity. Like, they're still genderless at their core, but they have this added layer of, like, my identity's got all these different, like, pieces. I've talked about it before. I just never called it alignment. I've talked about being feminine as a way to express queerness, but I've called it a layer of my identity, but I've never called it alignment. It just, like, alignment just doesn't fit for my gendered experience, which is totally valid. It's just as valid as somebody saying that they are aligned in some way. But I do not like the idea that specific genders are aligned strictly a certain way. I like the flexibility of terms, and I think that we need to focus more on the flexibility of queerness when coining new terminology, because being told that my gender is aligned male or aligned whichever, it kind of causes a little bit of dysphoria. Like, I'm expected to perform my gender in a specific way. That, I think, is the number one struggle, is the expectation of performing my gender, or my gender being expressed in a very specific way. Otherwise, people think that I'm not fitting the definition of my gender because of this, like, male aligned, female aligned idea. I don't think genders are inherently masc aligned, femme aligned, male aligned, female aligned. I don't think that's, like, it kind of alienates people who want to use those labels, I guess. I hope that makes sense. I kind of went off on a rant there, but yeah, alignment systems, it's not that alignment makes me dysphoric, it's just being expected to align with a certain gendered experience is what makes me dysphoric. Like, I find my gender to be very flexible, and I find that my experience with being a demiguy could be vastly different than someone else's experience. There are demiguys who are aligned in some way that use an alignment system. They could be mask aligned. I do not think that it is a contradiction if someone decides that they are a male aligned demiguy. I think it's just like their preference for their own gender and what labels they use. But yeah, just I don't think there's any objective way that a gender has to express itself. There's a lot of infighting about that. I've noticed about just terminology and whether or not terms are strictly one thing or another. Yeah, I guess that's that's just my own experience with that idea. That's kind of it for that. I left a blank spot for closing statements, but I don't think I really have any closing statements other than just listen to your peers, listen to like fellow queer people and what, like how they identify, how they, I guess, how they express their gender, how they view their own gender, because somebody with one gender may not experience that gender in the same way as someone else with that same exact gender. I'll admit that I've had this problem recently. I thought one of my friends was a trans woman. She's not. She uses she, her pronouns and is transitioning in a way that is feminine. But she is not a trans woman like I thought. She doesn't consider herself a woman in any capacity, but feminine maybe. But yeah, I've even had that assumption where like this person is undergoing this kind of hormone treatment and using these pronouns, so they must be this. That's also like that's something I also need to unlearn in the community. I need to realize just the complexity of gender and the different types of people who experience gender and how just gender means different things to different people. I've always said that if you were to ask 100 people about their gendered experience, you would get 101 answers back on that question. Not only the 100 people you asked, like, what is your gender experience like, but also it's a good way to figure out your own gender experience. So that's, where the 101 comes from. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Question of the week: what makes you dysphoric? I guess I'm just keeping it broad. What makes you dysphoric? Dysphoria is such there's so many stories of dysphoria. There's so many different things that would make a person dysphoric. And when I first realized that I was trans, I thought it was purely body dysphoria. That was like the meaning of dysphoria, but there's so many other things. There's so many other aspects to experiencing dysphoria and what can make a person dysphoric, and it's very much tied to someone's very unique gender experience. So I could end up getting dozens of different answers that I hadn't even considered before. Sorry, I'm turning the pages of my little notebook here. That's where I keep all my outlines for videos. So I guess that's it. I guess that's it for this video. Next week, at least what I hope for next week for Identity Talk is talking about my headspace, talking about what that is like. I want to do some other filler content, but I'm not sure if I don't know if I have time for that between all the different things that I'm doing and still trying to find time, personal time for myself. to focus on like my hobbies and my just, I guess, projects outside of YouTube and everything. So hopefully I can get back into making filler content. I want to expand on the Malehood 101 series that I was doing, and just talk more about me, talk more about interesting things in my life, other than the identity talk stuff. But yeah, I guess that's it. I hope everyone's doing okay. I hope everyone is well, I hope people are enjoying the content. um I I feel, I don't know. Sometimes I get a little nervous that my content is getting stale, or that I've like made something confusing or made something unclear. So hopefully I am coming across as something that makes sense. I guess. But that's all I have for today, for this week, and I am signing off for now. See you later.